After a disappointing effort last night against the Minnesota Wild, the Edmonton Oilers have a major problem, and if it's not fixed, it may lead to the downfall of the season. All that and more today on Oilers Digest. But first, if you are not part of the 82.2% that are not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. And a huge thanks to the 17.8 as we are on the road to 2,500 subscribers on what seems to be a very topsy-turvy Oilers season. And also today, this video is brought to you by Rentals.ca, who are proud supporters of Team Canada. And while they've been supporting our national team defend their home court in international competition, they've also been helping thousands of Canadians find their home floor all across the country. Whether you were in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, Halifax, Winnipeg, Mississauga, Edmonton, Victoria, or St. John's, from coast to coast, Rentals.ca have a ton of options to find the perfect place and price for you. Their website is clean and easy to use, and you can pinpoint exactly on the map where you want to move, finding all of the options in your area. Find your home court with Rentals.ca, and check out their website in the pinned comment or the description down below. And shout out again to Rentals.ca for supporting our channel, Team Canada, and for you guys for finding the best rentals across the country. But without further ado, folks, get me off this wild ride. Yes, last night the Minnesota Wild rolled into Rogers Place against the team that they have their number, the Edmonton Oilers. You know, Minnesota, like I mentioned yesterday, the Wild heading into that one were 10-2 last night, heading into the not so much exciting matchup because, you know, the Minnesota Wild, again, they have a reputation, not the most exciting team in the National Hockey League, but they know how to get it done with a 5-3 defeat over the Edmonton Oilers last night. It all started pretty exciting, or a very exciting start for the Edmonton Oilers last night as Leon Draisaitl scores probably the wackiest goal he will ever score in his NHL career. Things were all fine and dandy for the Oilers, and the Minnesota Wild had 2 goals taken back in the first period before they got one that actually counted, with Matt Boldy getting on the board, assisted by Kirill Kaprizov, who is continuing his tear throughout the scoring race in the NHL. And from there on, Minnesota just seemed to take the momentum of the game. Marcus Foligno makes it 2-1 Wild, and then Corey Perry on a wraparound goal makes it 2-2, and then Marcus Johansson and Freddie Gaudreau, he gets 2 goals to make it 5-2 Wild, and then Jeff Skinner in garbage time makes it 5-3 Wild. But 3 goals from the Edmonton Oilers that seem to be wacky bounces, you know, not hard-earned goals. Meanwhile, Minnesota just outplaying Edmonton throughout the entire hockey game. Shots on goal 32-26 in favor of the Oilers. If you want to take a silver lining out of this, the Oilers killing off 13 consecutive penalties when it comes to the storylines of the season so far. The penalty kill was not one of their strongest suits, but you know what? It seems to be coming back into form. But other than that, again, not a whole lot of positives to take away from that one. As you can see there on the Minnesota Wild side of the stats board there, 26 block shots. So Edmonton, again, struggling to get pucks through on net, which, again, has been a storyline for them throughout the season so far. And when it comes to the scoring chances, you can see the Oilers, they were not around Marc-Andre Fleury as much as the Minnesota Wild were around Stuart Skinner. You can see, you can barely see any of that blue paint there on the left-hand side as Minnesota, again, all over the Edmonton Oilers, dictating the pace of play throughout the night, which is something that the Oilers have been victims of, you know, not just this season, but for many, many years. And it's pretty much just a style of play issue for the Oilers. When it comes to the defensive side, again, not their strongest game. Evan Bouchard and Matisse Ekholm with a solid 50% scoring chance for percentage, 9 scoring chances for, 9 against, but it was the bottom 4 that seemed to be, you know, trying to keep their head above water, but struggling to do so, especially that Kulak and Emberson pairing. Of course, Kulak has been phenomenal these past couple games, but every once in a while, you know, he's not the most perfect defenseman. You can see there on the stat sheets, again, the high danger chances for. Again, Ekholm and Bouchard, 55% high danger chances for percentage, pardon me, and then Kulak and Emerson, and then Brown and Stetcher, again, 33%, which, again, not very strong. And Jason Greger says, Stu Skinner need to reset, 5 days of practice next week might help. Pickard needs to start against the New York Rangers, and I agree wholeheartedly on that. We'll get into Stuart Skinner in just a bit. Yes, I know, beating a dead horse, but folks, the conversation needs to be had. And then saying something, taking the words right out of my mouth here. Oilers offense did nothing tonight. 2 major lucky bounces and a goal with 24 seconds left. We'll say 3, but generated very little. Rough defensive game, no jump, ugly loss. And that's exactly what it boils down to for the Oilers. They've had far too many of these this season for a team that's supposed to be a cup contender. In the games that they, do have an effort in, it's very evident, but against solid teams, they are being pushed around and they're just trying to be too cute with the puck, and not much more to say about that. But Corey Perry, he says, I don't think we're far off. It's just the compete level, competing night in, night out. Some nights we look great when we do it, and when we don't, it's ugly, and ugly with a capital U, folks. That's how it is. It's either one or the other with this Oilers team. They will either come out, high flying, or they will come out flat footed, much like the Montreal game, and in the past the Columbus game. Just nothing that, shows promise other than, the Draisaitl goal in the opening 30-second. They definitely outcompeted us tonight. Our goalie is seeing too many shots, and we're trying to be cute with our perimeter game. It just doesn't work. And again, that's what it boils down to. The Oilers, they're doing, making one too many passes to each other, and they're not taking the prime real estate to take a shot on Marc-Andre Fleury or any goaltender. Rather, they are just trying to, make the highlight reel play, when really all you have to do is just keep it simple. But folks, like I said, we have to have this conversation. Stuart Skinner last night comes out of the game with an 808 save percentage, and of course, I don't want to put it all on Stuart Skinner. When it comes to last night, it was a full team effort on the loss, but Stuart Skinner, again, far too many. The whole storyline coming out of this game is just mistakes the Oilers are making, and it's evident time and time again. Nothing's really changed whatsoever. And Kris Knoblauch saying he's not playing the level he was last year. I thought from the time I got here last year, he was one of the top goaltenders, and if he had a bad game, it was turned around the next night, and that's pretty evident. Last year, rather, Stuart Skinner, if he had a poor game, he would be phenomenal the next. I think overall, for a goalie to play well, it's got to be predictable. We got to be more predictable for him and what kind of shots we are giving up. Where are they? And take away the high danger shots. Like tonight, that's not a predictable game for a goaltender to turn his game around. You can see there Stuart Skinner joining a list that, he probably doesn't want to join. The lowest save percentage in an Oilers goalie's first 14 games played, last 30 seasons. You can see some names there. Freddie Brathwaite in first with a 863. Tommy Salo in 0304 after the downfall of the 2002 Olympics. He was never quite the same goalie. Devin Dubnyk. And then there's the disastrous start to the 2022 campaign for Jack Campbell. And then Stuart Skinner makes the list twice. Only goalie to make this list twice. So seems to be Groundhog Day for Skinner. Of course, in the back half of last year, heading into the playoffs for the most part until the Vancouver series, he was pretty solid, and then he was solid after the Vancouver series, so he needed that reset. But we know what kind of goalie Stuart Skinner can be, and that's the frustrating part about this. You're expecting him to at least steal you a few games here and there. Of course, you're not expecting him to be, a world beater like Dominik Hasek was in the 1990s. You need him to be good. You don't need him to be great with the Oilers, the star power, the offensive abilities that, will eventually wake up, hopefully. You just need him to be a good goaltender. And same with Calvin Pickard. I mean, he's just a backup, right? But just looking at the save percentage and where they rank amongst their peers in the NHL save percentage rank, both of them are not even top 30. And then the high danger save percentage, Calvin Pickard is top 30, but Stuart Skinner, treading towards the 40s. The mid danger save percentage or medium danger save percentage, again, both around the same rank there, 35 and 38, and then the low danger save percentage. And Stuart Skinner, out of the 32 starting goalies in the NHL, he is near the bottom. And those are for like point shots, unscreened point shots. So that is not something that is, very exciting to see, for Stuart Skinner. Again, I'm a huge Stuart Skinner fan, but again, for the expectations you have of the Oilers, you need a goalie that is consistent and again can steal you a game. That is not much to ask for. Some solutions could be Olivier Rodrigue from the Bakersfield Condors, but again, that would be the same situation for Stuart Skinner from the Jack Campbell fiasco when you were trying to fit a circle into a square with Skinner bringing him up too early, putting him in the spotlight far too soon, and again, this is what happens. But with Rodrigue, worst case scenario, that could be something the Oilers, could possibly try. But another solution is making a trade within the division. Pierre LeBrun of The Athletic had an interesting idea for John Gibson to be traded to the Edmonton Oilers. He has a modified no-trade clause, but he could waive it in favor for the Edmonton Oilers. You can see that John Gibson coming into this season, or so far this season, 3-0 with a 906 and a 267. And that's, I would kill for that, to be honest with you. Something like that so far this season. Of course, John Gibson, 31 years old. He has had some injury trouble, but at this point, what's there to lose? I mean, the Oilers, they do have trouble, with the assets, in a trade, and especially within the division. Anaheim would be asking for a king's ransom. But again, Stan Bowman, he was brought into Edmonton to right the ship, or at least try to anyways, with whatever he was trying to do in Chicago. But John Gibson, he'd be a fair shout. But with that being said, the Oilers, we know what they're capable of. We hope for them to bounce back in their next game, which is against the New York Rangers on Saturday night. Yes, they're the second game of the doubleheader on Hockey Night in Canada. That should be a very exciting one whenever the Rangers do roll into town. But that's it for today's video. Make sure you let me know down in the comments what you think about a potential John Gibson trade from the Anaheim Ducks. And what do you think about the team overall? Are you worried? Are you expecting them to right the ship like they did last year around this time? Of course, American Thanksgiving is the litmus test for which teams will make the playoffs, and the Edmonton Oilers are currently sitting in the second wildcard spot in the Western Conference. They're 4 points out of first place in the Pacific. And make sure to subscribe as well, too. But have yourselves a fantastic weekend and enjoy the game tomorrow night. I'm Matt.